Join ForumIAS Academy, trusted by hundreds of toppers, including IAS Rank 1 Anudeep Durishetty, Shruti Sharma, and 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐺𝐵𝐻𝑒.
Hello everyone. Let us discuss the concept of feminist anthropology today. So feminism in anthropology is also a school of thought, right? So just like other perspectives, feminist perspective in anthropology, how did it come about? What was the idea behind it? Who were the propounders? And what was the backdrop of the very emergence of this movement? Now, before jumping directly into the anthropological understanding of feminist movement, let us try to first break down the term feminism here. So when we generally study feminism as a phenomena, so you all must have already studied it here and there, no? There are waves of feminism, and every wave was not mutually secluded from the other wave. It is more or less a continuous process. So from one set of demands, from one set of undertakings, the movement gradually started graduating into more different forms. For example, in the general milieu, we all know that the first wave, which we generally associate with respect to the emergence of the feminist movement, was with respect to a guaranteed right to vote for women. Right? And slowly we started to see certain other demands that we do not have to have gender stereotypes. Right? So first was with respect to right to vote. Then came gender stereotypes. And then we talk about fluidity also, objectification, etc. I hope you associate with this particular idea. It is already clear to you. Now, the idea which we are going to discuss today is that how this particular school of thought entered into anthropology and what were the biases in anthropology because of which this movement garnered importance there, right? So, as we began the very topic here, what will feminism oppose, or what will be the backdrop of the very foundation of feminism as a school of thought, for that matter in any discipline, not just anthropology? The backdrop would be inherent androcentric bias in everything around us. Now, what is androcentric bias? If you have just started to read anthropology, you must have seen the most accepted definition is that it is the holistic study of man across time and space. This is the definition of anthropology, which is the most simplistic one, and we all associate it, with it very easily. Now, if you look at the term which has been used over here, it is the holistic study of man and culture, man and environment, the interactions with respect to the Homo sapiens and the environment. This is how we study anthropology, of course, cutting across 4 brackets of biological milieu, archaeological milieu, linguistic milieu, right? So we are going to study it from all-round perspective. But what was the problem with that study? That it was inherently focused with a male perspective. And what do I mean by this? What was this androcentric bias? That the people who were doing research, they were males. The people whom they were researching, they were also males. What do I mean here? That even if a particular society had a component, a working, contributing component of women, they were not accounted for in much detail in the ethnographies of that particular point of time. So therefore, the person doing the research is a man, and the people on which he is doing a research, on whom he is doing a research, is also more focused on men. That is the meaning of the term androcentric bias here, right? So the whole question mark on the impending theories in anthropology began with this very idea that most of the theories have been gender blind. They have not incorporated women perspective. They have not accounted for women's contribution in terms of economic, in terms of political, social, to any kind of research which has been done. So therefore, this was the foundation. Now then came the idea that, okay, if this kind of a bias has been in the milieu for a longer period of time, as far as history of anthropology as a discipline can be traced, then what is the solution? How do we go about it? And the set of solutions appeared in cognizance with the waves of feminisms which we see in the general milieu also. For example, with respect to anthropology, in the first wave, up to 1920, more focus was on the very idea that inclusion of women in ethnography is a must. Okay, so inclusion of women in ethnographies. So like I told you, this was the boiling point here. This was the whole idea why feminism as a movement impacted anthropology. That you first come and include women, do research on women, have women researchers, be more gender open as a discipline also. The second wave, from 1920 to 80 here, this started to focus on inclusion of more women in academics. Now see, this you will associate with this particular idea when you will study culture and personality school of thought, and we'll see women scholars come to the milieu when we study that school of thought. Ruth Benedict, Margaret Mead, these women scholars come and present their researches. So this is happening in cognizance with this particular wave of feminist anthropology, where women have now entered the research realm into the academics, and they are now starting to outgrow from the traditional roles that were assigned to them. Okay, what are the traditional roles of home and outdoor work? Gender stereotypes or hierarchical roles which have been associated with a particular gender. So this is the time period where I see that the difference between gender and sex stereotypes, they start to get separated. And then is the onset of the third wave of feminism, which is considered to be a more open bracketed feminism, because women are now not just talking about women rights, women empowerment, women inclusion in the research sector, but apart from that, they are also talking about the queer people, the untouchable people. So this kind of now is more open to include any kind of subaltern section which have not able to garner their voice in any kind of ethnography so far. Right? So this is how, with the evolution of feminism as a movement, we see impact of feminism on anthropology. Related to this, you will be able to understand more with respect to the related scholars who are working in this milieu. So like I told you, from a school called Culture and Personality School of Thought in Anthropology, we have Ruth Benedict. We have Margaret Mead. And similarly, there's another scholar, Sherry Ortner. She is more known for her work with respect to culture and symbols, right? There is another Zora Hurston. Now, she is more famous because she happened to be one of the first African-American scholars, right? Now, if I tell you that, yes, this was the perspective or inclusion of feminist perspectives in anthropology, and these were the people who were fighting for it, that does not mean that this school was free of critics. There was a criticism in the initial phase, more specifically in these phases, that there was more focus on inclusion of white women in the academics and ethnographic work, where still there was a tendency of ignoring the African origin women with respect to their inclusion in research and studying them effectively as well. So this school also came with its own, own kind of shortcomings, which were overcome by the other schools. Thank you.